All right, beautiful people. Happy. What is today? Hump day. Welcome to Ignite at Night. My name is Nike Olabisi-Green, and I am the creator and chief movement leader at NOLA Movement. At NOLA Movement, we believe that when women are well from the inside out, we can change the world. And I am on a big mission to do just that. I serve that big mission by creating high energy spaces in one-on-one coaching, group coaching, workshops, and retreats. And this summer I had just the distinct pleasure of hosting the most amazing book club in Cleveland. And we had just a summer of super powerful conversations around themes that I believe impact women in their everyday lives. So we talked about mental health, we talked about creating wealth, and we talked about the power of vibrating higher and what the heck that means. So I knew that I wanted to revisit that conversation. And so we are here tonight. If you are joining live, make sure you let us know in the chat because I can see you. I can see the chat live. So if you are here, let us know that you're in the house. And I am so thrilled to welcome my dear friend and my guest, Dawn Rivers. So before we get her on, we're just going to do a quick commercial break. And then I'm going to shout out my sponsors. Okay, friends. Welcome. If you are here, you're getting your tea, you're getting comfortable. Welcome again. My name is Nike Olabisi-Green, and I'm the creator and chief movement leader at NOLA Movement. It is really my big vision, and it fills my heart to see women living lives that they actually love. And so I'm thrilled to be here with you on YouTube, and tonight I am partnered with my very favorite alcohol brand. I have to tell y'all, if you know me, I'm a coffee drinker in the morning and a cocktail drinker at night. And so I've got my most beautiful, delicious Cosmo here this evening. Can y'all see it? See how good it looks? It's so pretty. Hold on, let me take a sip because it's full. You can see, right? Ooh, yeah, listen. That's good. I made it, and I made it fancy. I even did the little wedge on the side. So I'm partnered with American Liquor, and let me tell you guys about them. I've got the bottle here. They are a vodka company for folks that like whiskey. So let me tell you, because I know whiskey's all the rage. The vodka is so good. It's so clean. You can have delicious cocktails with it. So that's what I will be enjoying while we get into our conversation tonight. So tonight we are talking about the book Vibrate Higher Daily. We read this at the book club this summer. Such a powerful read. And I feel like, really, with all the books that we've been talking about, they are really beautiful to revisit right now as we are moving into and through our holiday season. And as we pause, reflect, ground, and really prepare for the new year. So I'm just going to give you, if you didn't read the book, just give you my quick summary of the book. And then I'm going to invite my good friend Dawn to join me for this conversation. So, Vibrate Higher Daily by Lalah Delia, which if you don't follow her, her meditations are on Insight Timer. She's amazing. Actually, one of her favorite meditations that she does is called Signaling a New Timeline. So good. I'm going to drop that in the notes for you guys because it's so on point. But just a summary of this book, Vibrate Higher Daily. So really for me, even though I'm having a cocktail right now, this book felt like a warm cup of tea. She shares her story, Lalah shares her story of growing up in the 80s and 90s and the street culture. She tells about surviving sexual violence, her parents' divorce, surviving forms of epilepsy, abusive relationships, and even to the point of wanting to commit suicide. And on a day like today, I think that is so real, right? As we're going through the holidays again, and we have folks that are just feeling the grief of life and the heaviness of life. So all of this crescendos into her dark night of the soul moment. And this is where she is pushed into the realization of the higher potential of her life. From here, she begins to take the steps and shares with us in this book how to vibrate higher daily. She really invites us to take inventory of our lives, the people, the places, the food, the thoughts, the things that we practice on a daily basis to truly understand if they harmonize with us, if they align with us, right? If we think of our life as a song, all of the pieces and parts of our lives are the music notes. And so are all the things that we allow in our lives, do they harmonize? Or are we just going through the motions? She gives the first step to victory, and she says that begins with remembering who you are and remembering that you are the hero of your life each day. So, y'all, that is just a quick summary of the book. If you haven't read it, no worries. You're invited to this conversation, and I'm thrilled to welcome up just an amazing leader, wellness leader, community leader, yogi, coach, and one of my very good friends. She and I have been on this wellness business journey for several years now, and both of us had a pretty big year. And so I'm excited to have this conversation with her and to revisit this book with her, Miss Dawn M. Rivers. So let's get her in the room on the stage tonight. All right, friend, let's get you in here.
Hey,
Hello.
green room. I love that.
Yes. So let me make sure that we are both on here because right now it's just got you. Let's see. We're going to split. Mhm. All right. I wonder why. Y'all, you guys know that I am learning all of these like fancy things, and I'm gonna get this screen split for us so that you can see both of us at the same time because that is the goal of this interview.
I mean, on my end, see me in a
Let-
little box and you in a big box. So I don't know what it looks like
yeah, well, the goal is that we are,
together.
yeah, the goal is that we're together and everybody can see us together. So let me see if I
Let's
can.
go. Get live. We live.
We are. Yeah, if you're in the chat, let us know where you're from, where you're joining us from.
Yes.
Let us know if you've read the book while I kind of coordinate our view here. Gotta love, and this is exactly, yay! Hey Farida, welcome. Good to have you. This is the joy. This is exactly it, y'all. This is literally the joy of like having a business, figuring things out, on the go, and yeah. So let's
I mean,
see.
I was just complimenting you on this whole like program. I was like, you fancy, huh? Yeah.
Listen, we are learning. And it was actually correct when we first jumped on, and then something happened. Here we go. I think I found it. I think I did. On left, on right. Hmm.
Yeah. Again, it looks different on my end. Excuse me.
Hey, did I get that? Now let's try this. If you are joining live, thank you for like your patience and for hanging out. I want to make sure we get this right because this is going to be a powerful conversation, and I want y'all to see Dawn and see her face.
Yeah, I comb my hair too. So,
There we go.
oh, she said, "Good to see me." Thank you very much.
Fabulous. I got it. I got it. I got it. It's not exactly how I thought it was going to look, but I think this is going to work. So we're going to roll with it. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. All right, y'all. This calls for me to take a quick sip of my cocktail. I
Sip,
told
sip,
Don
sip.
before we started, it's very casual, so it is very casual.
Hmm. No worries. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for asking me to talk about one of my favorite books of 2022.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's get into it. So tell us who you are
Okay.
and tell us what from this book resonated with you.
So I am Dawn M. Rivers. I am the founder and owner of Daybreak Yoga. It's a yoga studio and wellness boutique in the Cleveland, Ohio area. And I am transitioning into more of a global space. So I'll be closing my studio down to actually take the show on the road. I'm so excited about the opportunity to coach with other people across the region and host my retreats around the city, the world, wherever I can go and connect with women because I believe that yoga is for everybody. I
Mhm.
believe wisdom of yoga is really a great, perfect way for us to find happiness, wholeness, and freedom. And that's what I've been working on this year because I was like, oh, wow, I've been on this journey for 10 years. And people have said to me, well, you look so happy. What is it? And I was like,
Yeah.
let me think about it. And um, this is one of the books that helped me like reassess like my journey. So this is perfect to talk about this book as we're closing out 2022 and to talk about like yeah, where I'm going and what I see for my future.
Yes, yes. So, what from this book resonated with you? Like, what was one of the things when you read it, like you had it, like it was like, is she speaking to me? And I know that you've also done like some of her programs, like her group programs. So, tell us maybe even about that experience of like reading the book and then having the opportunity to work with her.
Okay, so there's always a story. So if you know me, I have a story behind it. One of my really good friends, her name is Latoya Smith. She was like, "Yo, sis," she calls me Dr. She's like,
I
"Dr. Doctor Yoga." She said, "You need to read this
love it.
book. Get this book." And I was like, "Okay." And I think I'd seen some other people post about her, so I bought the book, put
Mm,
it on my bedside table, and didn't read it.
mm,
Then I was going through a difficult time with somebody I was in relationship with. And I was questioning that. I was questioning my business. I was questioning some friendships, a
hmm.
bunch of stuff. And it was probably my dark soul of the night. I opened up the book and I started reading the book and crying. It was 2
Mm,
a.m.
mm,
and I was crying and crying. And I might have gotten, I don't know, 10 or 20 pages in. And I was like, oh,
yeah,
this is it. It's
yeah.
called the liminal space. I was like, that is where I am. So I prayed. I said, God, I give it to you. I give you this relationship. I give you these financial issues that I'm concerned about. I give you these friendships. I closed the book. Went to bed.
Mm,
Then that weekend, I decided I was going to do a like digital detox. I shut down everything. I turned off my phone for almost 72 hours. I
mm,
went to yoga studio. I taught class at early morning and stayed. I cried on the rug
yeah.
and I was like, you know how you rock and you're crying? I was
Yep.
that and I was like, oh my God. And I
Yep.
read like I must have read it that weekend 2 or 3 times. When I turned my phone back on, things started to change. The relationship took a little bit of a turn. I decided there were certain friendships that I needed to eliminate,
Mm,
and flow of abundance started to come because I was so concerned about a specific area of my business that I didn't think that it was funneling through because I gave it all up in that space. Things started to change and happen. And so we'll talk about it later, but she has these metaphorical terrains, and one
yeah.
of them is called the fog. And this was February 2022. So
Mm,
I called
mm,
it February fog because I didn't have any clarity. I couldn't see where I was going. I
yeah.
couldn't see what was in front of me. I was so confused and I was exhausted.
Yeah.
Exhausted. So I read, I slept, I cried, I read, I slept, I cried, I read, I slept, I cried until finally I felt like everything was out. So that Monday when I turned on my phone and I get all these bing 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 bings, and I was like,
Mm,
okay, I'm ready to face the world again.
yeah.
And that's this book. It helped me through that time, and I had
Yeah. You said so many beautiful things there. Like, I want to like rewind because one of the very first things that you shared was that somebody had given you the book. So a friend had recommended the book, and then it just sat, right?
yep.
And I think, it's so many of us will buy gifts, or not buy gifts, but buy books and buy different things. And then they just sit, right? But it's like when we need them, they're there, right?
Mhm.
And so it was there and it was like waiting for you. And when you were ready, it was there. And I loved that because I think that is, I don't know, I just feel like we have everything we need, and it's like future self and past self like is always looking out for present self. And
Mhm.
so like you had bought the book, and the past version of yourself knew, right? Like, okay, Donna's gonna need this in a few weeks or a few months. And so it was there. It wasn't like, where do I go, what do I turn? No, 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 we have everything we need. And so much of that is when we are, I think when we are living in such a way that honors our presence and our essence, like our future self and past self is always looking out for our present self. So I just wanted to like pull that out for folks because so many of us, I think, will give ourselves guilt trips for having books just sitting around that we haven't read, or different things, right? Well, I know that's not you because you're a librarian. Which you didn't tell the people, but I'm gonna tell the people. This is my friend that's a librarian. Thank God. Just get a friend that's a librarian because she always knows. She
I
always
always
knows
got
the
a
things.
book.
But I feel
Always.
like that's something that women do. Like we kind of beat ourselves up, but like
Mhm.
when we need the thing, it's there.
And then, so like you said, I was in her community.
Hmm.
What happens to me is that I do a deep dive. I listened to every single podcast she was on. I found articles and read every single article. I went onto her website, scoured the website, read, watched everything that was on there, and joined her community. And I was like, I needed this. And this is the interesting part because when you are depressed, you're exhausted. So she would have, I want to say, bi monthly meetings on Saturday. So she's in LA like you, and it's a 3 hour difference. So it would be noon her time, 3 o'clock my time. I would fall asleep every single class. But
Mm,
her voice and her teaching was in my subconscious and in my spirit.
yeah.
And I would always wake up, almost always wake up
Hmm.
right when it's time for Q&A. So even though I didn't hear the full hour of her teaching, I would wake up right before the half an hour of like folks asking questions. And at first I was like so mad, like, oh my gosh, I gotta watch the replay. And I always watched the replay, it was okay.
Yeah.
But I said, this is what my spirit and my soul needed. It needed to be spoken into. So I have like a little egg chair right here in my
Yeah.
meditation room. I would sit on the egg chair and it just felt like her arms like
Mm,
enveloped me and rocked me in this space of like care.
yeah.
Yeah, it was so needed. So I stayed in the community until maybe, so that had to be February or March,
Yeah.
until about October. So I just recently,
Mm.
yeah, I feel like I got what I needed to get.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. And I think, you know, there's and both of us create community spaces, right? Where we create that for other folks. But I think it's so important as leaders to find spaces where we can be held that way. I love that visual picture that you painted. And I think, it's a perfect segue into just this idea of what are some of the things that we as women can do on an ongoing basis to take care of ourselves. And I absolutely think that one of them is being in community that feels right, that feels aligned, and where we can maybe take off some of the hats, right? And so I think that community, like especially now and especially after 2020, it doesn't have to be in your neighborhood. And I think we get to start thinking about community as folks that we are in alignment with, right? And so I feel like that's one way, and you just shared that. Another way that you mentioned, you did a digital detox. So maybe tell us a little bit about that, because I'm actually feeling that for myself.
Oh
Like
yeah.
it's like these last 2 weeks of the year, I'm really feeling like, okay, I need to unplug from something. So talk to us a little bit about maybe what that was and how that felt as a business owner, as a mom, because you've got kids, like you've got people that like check on you. They're not like little kids, but like you're a mom. You have a business, you're a community leader. So share with us maybe some of the things that you are doing on an ongoing basis, and if that digital detox is one of them that you continue to fold in.
So I started doing a digital detox, I want to say in 2017, and I did it monthly. I
Okay.
haven't been as connected to doing this self care practice of late, but 2023 is coming. So I would do either 24, 48, or 72 hours of no electronics.
Mm,
That means TV, no
wow.
computer, no radio in my car, no GPS.
Wow.
None. Because I felt like there was too much noise going
Yeah.
on in my head. And if
Yeah.
I taught yoga, I told people, I said, we're not having any music today. Nothing. Our
Wow.
online presence.
So
And
basically nothing with like, cuz I'm a pretty visual person. Like nothing with like waves.
no
Like
waves.
unless it was your voice and electricity, like nothing else that had like waves.
Yes. So to
Wow.
set it up, I told my kids, I said, this is
Yeah.
what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And since I did it monthly, they understood.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
dating somebody at the time who was very supportive. And this is, I always remember this story. So he would roll with me. Whatever I wanted to do, he was like, I support you. And I went with him to go to a barber shop to get his hair cut. It was so aggressively assaulting to my spirit that I had to
Mm,
sit outside on a bench and wait for him
yeah.
because they had on the TV and the radio and they were talking. It was so much noise.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna sit outside. And he explained to them because they were like, why is she leaving? He was like, well, she's doing this thing and she's trying to stay away from electronics and
Yeah.
all this. We're like, well,
Yeah.
why is she doing that? And the reason, because I didn't say why, the reason is so I could hear God.
Yeah.
And when you are quiet
Yep.
and when you're quiet, your body heals.
Yeah.
So I did that and I was able, if I was with people, I
Yeah.
was able to have more genuine conversation.
Yep.
You know, like you're looking at this person in the eye
Yes. Yes.
instead of down at your phone.
Yeah.
Another time, I just said, I'm gonna drive around. And I decided to buy new maps because I said, well, I got lost this one time trying to figure out where I was. And I was like, it's Cleveland. Eventually, I'm going to find some major road
Eventually, I'm gonna find a road or a highway or
or a highway is going to bring
a
me back.
thoroughway that
A
I know where.
thoroughway, something, a route, whatever.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? I'm going to get some maps for that just in
Yes.
case.
Wow.
Then I also said, I want to get a thesaurus and a dictionary, like paper books.
Yep.
And I just read and I slept and I went for walks and I
Yeah.
had conversations and it's fed my soul so much. And but then, yes, entrepreneurship, when I became a full-time entrepreneur, resigned from my job, there was lots to juggle
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
self-care started to slack.
Yeah.
So when I did this digital detox earlier this year, I was like, I've got to incorporate that back in my life. And as I'm about to close the studio, I can't wait to take the first half, like my new year
Yeah.
will be quiet.
Yes.
My first, I don't know, several days, I can't wait to
Yeah.
just do nothing that's connected with any electronics.
Yeah.
And it's scary at first, but
Yeah.
when you do it, your life is going to change.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm feeling, thank you for sharing that because, when we talk about different wellness practices and different things that we can fold into our lives to vibrate higher daily, I think for sure, like for sure, that first step, and you said it so beautifully, is you have to be quiet. Like you can't, like you're not gonna create any clarity or figure out what your next step is until you have created some level of quiet. And I think it's then that you can best understand, okay, what do I need to create some space for myself, right? And some space could be like, yeah, it's time for me to do a digital detox, or it's time for me to clean up my eating, or it's time for me to get my body moving again, right? When you're quiet, you'll be able to hear, as you said, God, right? And, I'm of the belief that God is in us, right? It's not that God is some like separate force that is like away from us and we have to like reach up. Like, no, 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 no. Like, God is in us, but you will not hear the God in you if you are not creating the space to get quiet. And so I love that you said that. And I love that it was clear for you, like, yeah, I need a digital detox, right? And not like a digital detox. Like a lot of people talk about a social media detox. Like you're like, nah, 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 nah. And it's funny because as you're talking, I'm thinking like that's one of the things for me as an empath, actually, when I am in spaces where there's a lot of noise like that, it's actually it's very difficult for me to concentrate. So like when I walk into spaces like you described, like I could actually, when you described it, I could feel it. When there's people talking and it's loud, or there is music, then there's TV and there's all these like contradicting noises, like I am very sensitive to that. And I usually have to kind of I very quickly have to figure out how I'm going to like take care. And if I can't leave the space, like that involves like prayer, like holding on to my crystal, maybe that's on my neck, or like just, doing some things to kind of like really quickly protect myself because I know that I'm like receiving a lot of energy. But if I can leave, or if I can like microdose the situation, like go in and out, absolutely. Like I'll go to the bathroom, I will leave the space and go for a walk. I mean, I've been at a conference that had that kind of energy for me, and I was like, okay, this is a good time for me just to leave and go outside. And it was cold outside, but I was like, I need like nature to like refresh me, like literally like let the cold hit my body and like reset me. So again, I think what you said was so beautiful because whatever the thing is, like we won't get to what our spirit needs if we're not creating first that quiet and that space to be quiet and actually listen. What is the God, what is the spirit in me like needing right now? What is it hungry for?
Yeah. So, like in Vibrate Higher Daily, she talks about the liminal space.
Yeah.
And it was confusing to me. So, I was glad to be in the community that she created because she talked a lot about what that meant.
Yeah.
And I use the metaphor or the analogy of the caterpillar going into the cocoon.
Mm-hmm.
So, the liminal space is what was and what is to come. So, the space in between
Yep.
the unknown.
Yep.
So you know what you are as a caterpillar. It's, like we have to give ourselves credit, even though we're this ugly little worm that a bird could eat or a
Yep.
kid could squish. You made it once you get into to this cocoon, and your DNA
Hold
knows
on,
what
because
to
this
do.
this is really good. I want to like slow this down because this
Okay.
analogy is so good. So
Mhm.
yes, like you know what it feels like to be a caterpillar. You know the number of legs you have. You know how fast you can move. You know the safe
Danger.
places. You know the dangerous places.
Yeah.
You know the
Yeah.
food that you can eat. Right. You know who your
Right.
friends are. You know who your enemies are. You know what weather you like,
Hmm.
right? You
Hmm.
know your terrain. You're
Yeah.
comfortable. You're like, I'm a caterpillar. I know birds are the enemy, right? The shade and the ground is where I stay protected. And me and my little caterpillar friends, we move slow,
Right.
but we over here, we kick it, right?
But you are not meant to stay a caterpillar.
Come on.
You
Come
are
on.
meant to become a butterfly, but you can never become a butterfly until you go into darkness
Yes.
that is sealed, right? The cocoon, you put yourself like they spin the cocoon around them. They cloister themselves inside this darkness
Yeah.
where their body is destroyed.
Yep. Mm.
They become mush.
Yep.
The transformation cannot be rushed. You can't open it. If you open the cocoon,
It's over.
it's over.
Yeah. You won't,
I
you,
can't
yeah.
rush the liminal space. So she
Yeah.
calls it the liminal suck.
Yeah.
So it's sucking all of the old out
Yeah.
because you have prayed. She told me this because I was like, Layla, oh my gosh, because I asked a question. She was like, this is what you prayed for. You prayed
Yes.
transformation and it is being manifested. It's coming to you, but you can't handle it.
Yes.
You have to go through this dark space.
Yes.
You have to transform. And then this is the important part. Once it is time for the butterfly to come out, the
Yeah.
butterfly can't fly yet. The
Mm.
wings are wet. It has to flap its wings,
Mm-hmm.
even more vulnerability,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Perched on a branch, flapping its wings so the
Yep.
wings can dry before it can fly away,
Yep.
before it's fully developed. So
Yeah.
you're still in
Yep.
a holding pattern or space
Totally.
or liminal space before you're there.
Yeah.
And that's like, we don't know how long we're in this
That part.
suck.
That part.
It's dark in here,
That part.
right? We are being broken down.
That's where God is in us, but we're not God, right? God knows. And it's like,
God
how
knows.
long am I going to be here? This is so uncomfortable. I used to know. I used to have a level of comfort. At least I was on the ground and I could move
Hmm.
and I like what? And now I see the birds, but I'm not as scared of them because they're like in a different, like we're kind of in the same space now. Like what's happened? Like I'm in a new space now.
Yep. Yep. It's
It's so,
so profound.
it's so,
Like if we, because I think the answers, like you said, we have everything that we need. The answers are here too,
yep,
but we're distracted and we are like the vibration of us has become like dull, right? Or it's chaotic.
yeah,
So when we think of the frequencies of the brain and we have like the gamma waves and the delta waves, they all have different frequencies. And when you slow down, like in yoga nidra, this is a the practice of slowing the body down. When the waves slow down, that's when the clarity comes.
yeah.
There's space
That's
in
so
between the
good.
waves to bring the information,
That's so
right?
good.
So when we look at nature,
Come
if the
on.
waves of the ocean are fast, you know a storm is coming. You better prepare.
Yeah,
It is frightening.
yeah,
But when the waves are slow, you can enjoy those waves. You can even bask in them. You can
yeah,
bathe in them. So we need to, the frequency, the vibration needs to be slower so we can stay in touch.
yeah,
So we know what's next. We know what we need
yeah.
to do.
Yeah, I love this. I am a big believer that so many of the lessons, really all of the lessons, if I could be really bold, that that we learn through life are reflected to us in nature every day. Every day. Growth is not linear. Growth is cyclical. right? And what do we see in nature? From the moon to the sun to the seasons to the way that the earth is spinning on an axis, right? Like to the trees that shed every 4 seasons. They look like everything in nature moves and grows in seasons, right? The picture that you just painted for us of the caterpillar and the cocoon and then fresh out of the cocoon and then the butterfly, right? Everything has a season. And I think to even bring in, because even though this book isn't religious, like you can look at the major religions, right? And even when we talk about yoga, you can look at all of these major belief systems and they all teach us the same lesson, right? There is a season for everything. There is a time for everything. Like learning how to trust and move through life with trust and grace is a practice. And what I love personally about meditation and getting quiet and specifically like our breath, it's that space between, right? The space between that inhale and exhale. It's exactly what you described, right? That space between for the caterpillar to the butterfly. It's a space. It's that little space, but that is the space that's so powerful. So I listen, y'all. If you are joining us now, listen. This is if you're watching the replay, if you're live. If you're live, let us know in the chat what's resonating with you, what's hitting. Give us some thumbs up or hearts. Let us know. If you're watching the replay, let us know what's resonating with you. If you have had lessons in life that when you were able to maybe look back, maybe you've gone through a transformational process that you saw like, oh my gosh, that was happening for me, right? And you can now look back and understand and see how you were supported and how everything you needed was there. Because I think so often, like hindsight is 2020, and even conversations I've been having with my husband, it's like one of the major keys I think to life is every time you get to a new level, and again, I think growth is cyclical, right? But every time you get to a new level, you really go back to square one. And it's like, okay, do you remember all the lessons that you learned last season? Great, because you're going to need them on this level too. But how quickly can you remember those lessons and begin to put them into practice? Because you need all of them. You need all of them. And that's what every level looks like. It's like, okay, remember those lessons? Great. You need them because now you're going to learn some more. And to learn those lessons, you need to show me, us, God, spirit, universe, right? That you remember the lessons of the past level or the past season. So, jamming, jamming, jamming.
I've been in conversations with different people over like the last decade of this transformative journey I've been on.
Yeah.
And I remember having a conversation with my former husband when we were working on our marriage. And he was like, I don't want to do the work. He was like, it's too hard. And I'm like, what
Mm,
do you mean you don't want to do the work?
mm-hmm.
Because it is.
Yes.
Because, like you're saying, it's cyclical. It's almost like a spiral, right?
Yep.
So going in circles, but it's going up and requires energy for it to go up.
Yes.
And reading this book gave me new information.
Yes.
So never, I can never stop because there's something else that I need to learn in order for me to go up to the next
Yeah.
level.
Yes.
It's work.
Yep.
It's new mind shifts. It's new like habits
Yep.
that you have to create. New
New beliefs, new friendships,
beliefs.
new
Yeah, right.
relationships, everything.
All of everything, everything.
So
There's
I feel,
another analogy that I like um, that I just learned about, like the idea of wintering.
yes.
So if you think of right now, we're in the winter season in North America,
Hmm.
and our trees, as they're coming to winter, they release their leaves. So leaves have chlorophyll. But when the leaves start to fall, the chlorophyll pulls back into the trunk of the tree.
Come on,
And the
librarian. Come on, teacher. I told y'all. This is why you need a friend like this.
and the green goes away, so you see the colors of the leaves, and then the tree lets it go because it
Mm,
doesn't to give the energy into the leaves anymore. It pulls it back into itself
Mm,
so it can rest and repair
come on.
during the winter. So when spring comes, there's a
Yes.
little growth. Tree got a little taller.
Yeah.
There are new buds.
Yes.
There are new flowers, which turns into fruit. But if it didn't have that time to rest,
Yeah.
it can't grow,
Yeah.
can't bud, it can't flower, and it can't fruit.
So good. What a beautiful, yeah, loving that. The live cruise, loving that. Loving that. Um, I think there's one more concept, and we're kind of like making our way, especially as we continue to talk about nature and pull out all these beautiful analogies. Um, but I want to talk about something that Layla talks about in the book. And she says that on our journey to become vibrationally aware beings, and to step into our higher potential, that we go through these different terrains. And I want to read just really short summaries. Like, guys, this is around, if you're in the book, if you haven't read the book, it's around page 70. She breaks this down, page 71. But she talks about the mountain, the desert, the storm, the ocean, the fog. And I would be doing a disservice to be sharing about this book and not be like pulling this out. This is such a powerful visual around the terrains that we travel through life. So she says the mountain, so we're going through obstacles. It feels overwhelming. And as I describe these, just even close your eyes and imagine like the terrain of these places, right? So that's how she describes the mountain. It's an obstacle. It feels very overwhelming. The desert is a time where you're feeling physically and or spiritually alone. The storm is a divinely controlled experience to remove unstable things and create stability. Y'all, that one blew my mind. Like, she talks about what a storm really is, like in nature. And storms come to remove things that are unstable and bring stability to the atmosphere. Woo, whoosh, right? The ocean, the state and the vastness of our emotions and our energy. And Dawn has already painted a picture of the power of water and of the ocean, and when it's moving fast and then when it's calm and moving slow, and the waves, right? And then she talks about the fog, when you can't see clearly and when you feel stuck. So those are some of the terrains that she talks about through the book. She says sometimes they can be happening at the same time, right? You could be on the mountain and there's fog on that mountain, right? Or you could be in the desert and there's a storm. So just as these things can occur in nature simultaneously, she goes in depth and talks about them on our journey to spiritual awakening, and that all of it really does happen for us. Dawn, you've really already shared a few situations in your journey and in your life where you've gone through these different terrains, as she describes it. Maybe I'll ask you instead, what encouragement would you give someone who is reading the book, or who maybe just heard this, like, yeah, right now I'm in the storm, or right now I'm in the desert? Maybe if you could tell us what encouragement you would offer to someone, or some of the self-care practices that you might offer to someone who is journeying through one of these terrains, one or all.
Well, I want to say that Lalah Delia is a genius to think about how these metaphorical terrains are spiritual, like growth points for us. And I was like, wow. So the first answer that I'm going to give is get the book and read this section over and over, because
Yeah,
she focuses on this, like in her programming. She's like, this is where you have the transformation in your life.
yeah,
Each terrain, she has the purpose of it. So, like the purpose of the mountain, it says the journey brings you to the mountain to strengthen and fortify you,
yeah,
right? So, if you are climbing a mountain or a hill or whatever it is, you have to prepare for that, right? Like if I think of the book Wild by Cheryl Strayed, and she's climbing the Pacific coast or whatever it's called, and it's like this terrain is absolutely out of control, and she has a huge backpack. It's overly packed. She has too much stuff in it, and she's exhausted. But by
Mm.
the time she finishes the trail, she has strength, right? So by the time we climb to the top of the mountain, we have strength. We
Yeah.
made it through it physically. So if we're going through this metaphorically, spiritually, we're going to be stronger. So
Yeah.
when you read them, focus on the purpose so you know why you're going through it. So like I was in the fog. I was like, what the hell is this? So I
Yep.
said, what the mess kind of mess? So
Absolutely.
when I read it over and over, so the purpose of the fog, it says a journey brings you to the fog to gain greater clarity, to purify your mind. Remember, this is why I did the digital detox, to purify my
Hmm.
mind and to release what isn't serving you
Yes.
and to offer better focus and direction. I was like, okay, I receive it. I
Yeah.
receive the fog because I remember this movie back in the 80s called The Fog, which was a scary movie. And like in the fog were all these dead zombie like ghosts or whatever. And you didn't know they were coming until they killed you.
Mm.
So
Yikes.
like you're in the fog, you don't know
Yikes.
if there's a curb coming up. You're driving your car, you gotta drive
Yes.
extra slow. You gotta be more focused on what's coming up. You have to be like, your fog lights are on, and you just say like, you know what, I'm going home because it's safer for me to be home to be in this car.
Yeah.
That's what the fog is. It's safe for you to go home and rest. So the second thing, rest. Right?
Hmm.
Are all tired. I think the
Yeah.
reason why we're in heightened death by suicide, because I just found out that a former friend, she committed suicide yesterday,
Mm.
birthday. Her
Yeah.
daughter posted on Facebook, and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
You know, like people are exhausted
Yes.
trying to find connection, to find love, to find release, to
Yeah.
find answers, right? And if we don't rest,
Yeah.
if we don't to love us, to take care of us, to listen to us, we don't
Yeah.
feel like.
Yeah. I want to pause here because, um, again, this book is so powerful. And when we talk about wintering, when we talk about that is the season, if we are again in the northern hemisphere, that is the season that we are entering. And for so many reasons, right, there has been this, and the reasons that we have to detox is because all of these things have been created to separate us from ourselves. And so we can talk about capitalism. I talked about that a ton last week. If you didn't listen to last week's, it's just me talking about capitalism, okay? Talking about gender violence, talking about patriarchy, talking about racism, talking about sexism, all of these things that have been created to keep us separated from ourselves. And, I think we get on and we can talk about rest, and I can hear someone who's listening to this saying, but you don't understand, I have to go to work. You don't understand, I have to get these bills paid. You don't understand, I have mouths to feed, right? And I think it's important for us to put it all into context, because I think all of those isms that I just mentioned will keep us in a puppet state and obedient to their rules, and we won't even ask or search or wonder or find a way to take the rest that we need, right? And what I want to make sure I pause and say here is, if you are alive and your feet are on the ground and your heart is beating and you can feel your breath, you are worthy of rest. And so that means if you are at a place of employment, if you are at a place in your life where you're like, I can't rest, I don't have time, I can't, like, that is the exact mindset. That is exactly what all these isms that I was just talking about, capitalism, racism, sex, all the isms want you to stay in that loop because it will keep you disconnected from rest, which is then disconnected from yourself, which we started at the top. God is in you. And if you can't get quiet enough, which you get from resting, to connect with the God in you, then you will never get clarity. And you will stay in the isms. And you will fast forward and find yourself in a place in your life where you are physically, emotionally, spiritually tapped. Tapped. And so, what Dawn is talking about when she says rest here is so powerful. And I want you to know that it is available to you. 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 And you are worthy.
You're worthy. That was one of the biggest issues I had when I became an entrepreneur. A
Absolutely.
girls' trip. This was in it was in 2018, so it was right before I opened the studio. And we're in Sarasota, beautiful beaches down there in Siesta Key.
Mm,
And one of my friends was like, "Why are you still on your phone?" I was like, "Well, because I keep getting these like messages about like my classes and things like that." And she was like, "Okay." And I was online, then like I could miss a customer.
yeah.
So my mindset, like
Yep.
I need to be available. I need to be available. And my daughter, she was like, "Mom," my daughter said to me, even even 24-hour companies that are open, they still have downtime for their employees. So you need to like shut it down. You don't need to be available all the time.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time
Yeah.
to
Same.
understand that, right?
Same.
Because I was in this fear-based mentality mindset of scarcity and people pleasing that I felt like if I am not available, then
Yeah.
they won't want what I have to give.
Yeah.
So I was perpetually exhausted.
Yep. Yeah.
And that didn't do me any good.
Yep. Yeah.
I remember like clawing up the steps because I couldn't walk up the steps. I was so tired.
Mm,
Crawled into my room
yeah.
and then I laid on the floor because I couldn't even get in the bed.
Mm, yep.
Are you kidding me?
Exhausted.
Exhausted.
Exhausted. Yeah. Yeah.
So when they talk about the hustle and the grind, if you think about what grinding
Come
is,
on. Let's get into it.
it like when things are ground in a mortar and pestle,
Yep.
what's left is dust. It's no
Dust.
longer a fully formed whatever it was.
You
And
can't even recognize, you can no longer recognize and like like you
okay,
can smell what it was, but
it's not there
it's not
anymore.
the same. It's no longer the same thing.
So that hustle and grind stuff is terrible. Like grinding your teeth, right? Your teeth are the hardest substance in your body, but you grind your teeth down and then there's nothing left but exposed nerves and you
Yikes.
have pain and other issues. So like
Yeah.
this hustle and grind, no. So the way like our coaches that we've both been through some programs, there's focus, which is necessary,
Yeah.
right? And there is momentum, but that doesn't mean that you don't rest.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
just remove other things.
Yeah.
So a lot of times we feel like, well, we need to be on this committee. We need to be doing this. We need to
Yep.
show up on social media. No, maybe you just need to do one thing.
Yep.
Maybe right now is your research time.
Yep.
Maybe right now is your writing time. That's it.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
So
I will offer last year, y'all, I am on the mountain. So when we had this conversation this summer on the panel, I asked all the panelists, okay, where are you at? Where are you at? Be really vulnerable, share with us. And I shared, I'm on the mountain. on the mountain, and I've been on this mountain for a minute, and I'm still on the mountain. And the difference is, a year ago this time I was on the mountain and there was also fog.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to make, and you know, because you and I had some really big conversations a year ago around this, about this time, where I had to make some really difficult decisions. I had to shift the way I was showing up in my business, in my marriage, in everything, in my friendships, because it was all starting to burn down. And I, how you were describing, like, I was exhausted, I wasn't happy, I was gaining weight, I was doing so much people pleasing. I was on way too many committees. I was checking a lot of boxes that I felt had to be checked to serve ego. And I want to say that very, very clearly. Ego meaning the version of myself that others expect, that I believe that others expect me to be, right? So I was doing a lot of things to serve that version of myself instead of taking care. And so I got to a point where I let everything fall apart. I let it, like,
It's gonna
it
burn
both
down.
fell apart and I let it fall
Burn
apart.
down.
It was
Yeah.
both, because if I didn't, it would have fallen apart anyway. It was falling apart.
Mm-hmm.
And I took cover. I took shelter, and I was quiet, and I took a trip. I actually took a retreat to one of my favorite places in the world, and grateful for my support system, because he was like, "You need to go to Brazil." Like, you need to go. And I was like, "Really? Like, can I go for 2 weeks?" And he was like, "Go." And I'm so grateful I did, because after I came back, and Dawn, who knows me closely, anyone who knows me could feel and see the difference in how I showed up in my business. And here I am a year later, still on that mountain, still on the mountain, y'all. And the elevation is just getting higher and higher. And I can confidently say there's no fog. I recognize that I'm in a season where I get to rest, but it's so much different than last year, where I couldn't see what was next. I couldn't see, like, okay, like, what am I doing? Like, why is everything falling apart? And so I really want to get into the power of retreats, because I am a big fan of retreats. I actually really try with intention, and I dislike the word try, so I don't actually want to use that word. I have an intention that I retreat with myself quarterly, and sometimes those retreats are big, so I'll go to a place away from home. Sometimes those retreats are staycations, where I just unplug from my normal routine and I allow myself to just be present and do the things that I enjoy. And so I'm a big fan of retreats. My husband and I, we work to retreat together, because I think something else that you shared, when you're in relationship with someone, friendships or romantic, like, there has to be some, like, getaways where you, like realign and stay connected, and that takes work, ongoing work. So he and I have committed, and we work to retreat at least once a year, but our goal is a couple times a year. And so I would really love to talk about the power of retreats, and um, how you have folded that into the work that you do.
Awesome. Yes. So I do yoga retreats, and this has been a part of my journey since 2018. Um, After I returned from my first retreat in 2017, because a lot of people in the community, they would go to yoga retreats, and I had a full-time job, and they're like, "You should come to Tulum. It's February," and I was like, how? I can't take time off from a school
Mm.
date. So I started to, when I came back from a retreat, and it changed my viewpoint on rest, because I used to be a power yoga person. Restorative yoga, I didn't even know that was a thing until I went to this retreat, and I was like, what is this magic? And I was like, I was like, the hell? You mean we just go, and like they created a space,
You
and
mean
you can,
yoga can be soft and
I
restorative
didn't
as
know.
well?
And I was like, oh, I got to bring this back because I don't think people understand or know what this is. So I had my first yoga retreat in 2018, and I've slowly grown them over time. So
Yeah.
I've had a yoga retreat in Southern Ohio, well, a couple in Southern Ohio, and this past June, I took a yoga retreat down to Puerto Rico, which was amazing. And our
Mm-hmm.
like last day, we're on top of this mountain, and spirit, something came because people were weeping. Like we did a ceremony with drinking cacao, and we were breathing, and it was like it was powerful. So I do have a coming up retreat. I'm excited about this. My first winter retreat, and
Yeah.
it goes around the idea of the wintering. It's going to be in Pennsylvania, near about a couple hours from like the Philly area. So about 3.5 hours from Cleveland, if that, maybe it's three.
Yeah.
And this space is called River Mountain. They built these cabins. They have little pods, and each pod or each cabin was built on the circadian rhythms of the world. So this cyclical thing.
Mm-hmm.
So like back in the day, before electricity was a big thing, people woke up with the sun and they
Yep.
went to bed when the sun went down.
Yes.
So it is the natural rhythm of our bodies. And
Yeah.
I was, oh, okay. So I went to visit, and we are walking around and taking a tour, had our little campfire of s'mores. It was beautiful. And then I stayed in one of the pods that had a skylight. I was like, I'm going to look at these stars. I'm going to be up in here. Next thing I know, I was like,
Passed out.
passed
Yeah.
out, Nikkei.
Because
So,
our bodies long for that. Like
yes,
again, we have all these things, all these screens, all these things that keep us disconnected from ourselves, but our bodies actually yearn for
yes,
that natural rhythm. And so,
yes.
yes, there's a reason why we get tired earlier when it's darker earlier. Yes, of course we do. Like our bodies are like, can we rest?
Can
But
we
we've
rest,
created
please?
electricity and we've created work. And so there's constant productivity that's required. But you're absolutely right. In agricultural times and in other cultures and societies, even still today, like
Mhm.
there's times that are honored for rest and for following the natural cycle of the season.
Yeah. So the retreat that I'm hosting, there will be yoga, but the yoga is gentle. It's focusing on letting the body rest, restore, and renew. We will
Mm,
be doing some mindset work, which is beautiful. I love this. Oh, okay. Where can I? Okay, we'll talk about it. You can get my information dawnandrivers.com.
I'll drop the link. You keep
Yeah.
going.
Okay. All right. It's going to be on that page. It's also on my Daybreak Yoga page. So all the places. So we will. It's from Thursday through Sunday. I'll guide you through yoga. You'll have opportunities to rest and to retreat on your own if you want. Some people have already signed up to go horseback riding. That's an add-on,
Yes.
and it's really about creating a new vision. I call it your awakening awareness, your alchemizing for what's new. So, like when we think of alchemy, it's the process of turning lead into gold, right? Like the alchemist, when you're on this journey, you realize, like you said, oh, so if you read The Alchemist, he realized that everything was already there in him. But the
Yeah.
idea of turning a metal like lead into gold, you're able to do that. You're able to turn the lead, your leaden heart, your leaden mind through this process that I'm going to take you to create a beautiful experience of your next journey. So 2023 and beyond can be different because change your thoughts, like these subconscious thoughts that have been programmed based on the people that have raised us, the culture we've been raised in,
Yes.
media that we've been seeing. That's our subconscious mind, and we can kind of clear some of that out by reprogramming it. Then we start to change the words that we say because words have power; they become things. So if we focus on more positive, affirming words, being honest, being loving, we can change, and then we change our hearts or our minds. So this is like when a woman is like she done, when she knows she's not gonna do that anymore. Like if a lady cuts her hair, don't let her cut her hair because once she cut her hair, it's done. So you start to change your mind or your
Yeah.
heart, and then that way you've got all these steps, and you're like, oh, here's my vision.
Yeah.
this is what I want to do. I want to live here now. I want to work here now. I want to be in relationship here now. So
Yeah.
when you see folks going through this big transformation and maybe like they found a new sexuality, right? Like this deep thing that they push down and you're like, "Well, wait a minute. I thought you used to be married to a so and so." And now that's because they
Yep.
tapped into who they really were.
Yeah.
Or maybe they have like a degree being a lawyer and they don't want to do that anymore and they want to paint instead.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe they've always lived in community with their family and now they want to live in Asia. Whatever. That is creating new vision because you've
Yep.
changed your words, change your mind, and you're like, boom. And that's what I'm going to help people work on at the yoga retreat.
Yes, it sounds amazing. So
You.
give us and y'all, like, I knew this was gonna happen. We're over time because this is my girl. This is our jam. We've many a phone
Many.
call, Zoom call, FaceTime have jammed out over this stuff. So thank you if you're joining live. Make sure the link is there for you. Make sure you connect with Dawn. Get all the details for this powerful, powerful retreat, this powerful, powerful experience. Dawn, I would love to ask you, who is this retreat for? So if someone is listening, who is this retreat for?
So this is a woman who wants to awaken the little girl that's inside of her.
Mm,
She had dreams for herself. She had desires for herself, but she kind of like put it to the side, right? She's been
yeah.
taking care of family. She's been responsible. She's
Yep.
been the people pleaser.
Yeah.
She's gone taken another course, gotten another degree. She's done all these things, and who she always wanted to be has been tampered
Yeah.
down.
Mm,
And she's like, I'm ready, but I need a guide. I need,
yes.
I'm ready to bet on me. I'm
Yeah.
ready to invest in me. I'm ready,
Yeah.
right? She's ready. Nothing can stop her.
Yep.
But this new, beautiful version of yourself that will be awakened will support all the people in your lives. So like she might have this business that she starts and it brings more finances to her life. Or
Yeah.
she might cook differently. Or she might be meditating and less stress. There's so many things that can happen because she takes care of herself first. That's who this retreat is for.
So beautiful. So beautiful. Ladies, if you're listening right now, live or the replay, and you are feeling from this conversation and you're feeling like this is what I need right now, this will fill my cup. If the different terrains that we talked about, if you're on that mountain, if you're in that fog, like, that's the other thing. And so many points that we've touched on, there's nothing like going through your journey with community, right? And so being in a space where you can both be quiet and connect with nature, connect with the God in you, and do that in community that is specifically created for this work. I promise you, it is an investment worth making. And so, if you are interested, all the info is in the chat for you. I will drop it again. Dawn, thank you so much for your time and energy and for sharing with us your wisdom and your gifts and for sharing with us about this retreat. I know we could go on, but
We
this
could.
is Ignite at Night. So I know folks are ready to turn down. They might already be in bed. They might be ready for their second cocktail or whatever. But before we jump off, I want to make sure I ask, where can people find you?
Okay.
So your website is in the chat so they can get you there, but where are the best places for people to follow you in our digital world?
So in our digital world, in our social media world, my personal brand is Dawn M. Rivers on Instagram. I'm most active there, but I'm also on Facebook. And then the business brand is called Daybreak Yoga. That's our website. That's our Instagram as well. So you can find me there, or you can Google Dawn Daybreak Yoga and I should pop up.
Awesome. Beautiful. Guys, help me thank Dawn. You are amazing. You are amazing. All right, friends. So, guess what? That is another Ignite at Night. And I'm so grateful to my dear friend, Don M. Rivers, for joining me this evening. And for you, if you're watching live, if you're watching the replay, I want you to know I am on a big mission to serve and support women getting well and creating lives that they love. And I know, just as we started talking about tonight, just as we got into tonight, it starts from the inside out. You can try to change all the things on the outside, but nature teaches us it is transformation from the inside out. So I'm inviting you, if you know that you are ready for one-on-one coaching, group coaching, if you're looking for support on your journey, make sure you connect with me, connect with NOLA Movement. Everything that you need is in the notes below. And if you're ready to really awaken the light within, connect with Dawn. She is an amazing woman. She's created an amazing community. And that retreat in February is going to be so powerful, okay? So all the info you need to connect is in the chat. Guys, next week is our last Ignite at Night for the year, okay? We are talking about we should all be millionaires. And if you know me or you're new to me, you'll learn I am all about talking about the coins, talking about women creating more money and wealth. I am a Capricorn, so I love, my mind is always creating business ideas for other people and for myself as well. But join me. We'll be right here, the same place on YouTube. Invite a friend, like, share, subscribe. Let's continue the momentum, continue these powerful conversations, and continue creating lives that we love. All right, I love you. You are supported. You have everything you need. And I'm excited to see you next week. Take care, guys. Peace.